parking lot. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
While you're doing that, Ray, you may want to, also, I have you might want to sign the notice to proceed on the parking lot. We won't want to do that with the streets till we have the funds from NDOT, but the parking lot is completely funded by the town. And if you sign the notice to proceed, Mike can forward that to Culver, and then they can hopefully get the parking lot going here a little quicker, because we did set that for a completion for the end of October. So do that. Yeah.
I make a motion, we accept them. Reason.
Yeah,
Well, it's everybody, it's the entire board.
you have a second?
Yeah, second.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So we got a motion and a second to for a notification to proceed to Culver to get started on our hall parking lot. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Lori, you got anything for us? Did we get our stuff going?
Yeah.
Looks like it. Good deal. Thank you
Bill
so
said-
much.
Bill says everything's working now.
Good deal. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
The only thing I have is we need to transfer some appropriations in the street department and in the general fund for the police and fire department. Apparently I didn't budget enough for some things, or they spent more than normal, or,
Really,
yeah. I don't know which happened.
everybody had a
but-
chance to look at that. Any further discussion about it? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the appropriations. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-05-19. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Lori.
The girls and I did some clerks training this last week. We learned a few things. One of the things is they're expanding the reason for executive sessions by 2 or 3 little things, which I think will be nice. The other thing is we did meet with our health insurance representative, and I think Mark set it out in his email. We're going to have a pretty significant increase in that. If you want details, he's willing to come over and meet with you guys and go over it. Probably want to do that in an executive meeting. I think we can do that. He did get other quotes. None of them were significantly different. Back to the one that would have gone with if we hadn't gotten quotes was the lowest anyway, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So if I just want to let you know, if you want me to just move forward with it, we can do that. Thought I should bring it up and bring you up to speed.
Yeah, I'd like to sit down and have a talk with him about what's going on and different things. I mean, it's inevitable, but still, let's get it straight.
So do you want to set
Yes.
okay, so the next meeting at 5:45, we have an RDC meeting. So if you want to do that, I'd say you're going to be pushing it, probably need to meet probably at 5. Unless you want to set a different date. And that's totally up to you guys.
Would you be able to make that, Karen?
Yep.
Fine.
June 2nd.
Yeah.
I can be here at 5.
Everybody good with 5 o'clock?
Yep.
Yep. All right, do that.
Well, the other thing was I gave each of you, at the last meeting, I asked to have a section of the employee handbook rewritten just to clarify some language, because It was a little silly how it was already written. Silly is probably not a good word, but
Unclear.
it was unclear. Even though we were doing it according to Department of Labor standards, it wasn't worded that way in our handbook. So Bill wrote up something. I gave you each a copy of this paper right here.
Mhm.
Everybody has one.
Mm-hmm.
If you're all okay with that, we can approve it, and then we can, at the next meeting, I'll have something you can sign saying you approved it or whatever, kind of amendment probably.
I make a motion, we approved the 509 phone call employee for the handbook.
Second.
My phone wouldn't want to play with me very good here. Okay, so we got a motion and a second to have a meeting on June 2nd at 5 o'clock to go over our health insurance with our insurance agent. Any further discussion? That's what I'm supposed to do.
The handbook.
Oh, the handbook.
Well, yes, we're gonna have that meeting.
Yes, all right, thank you. All right,
And then next up,
yes.
The clarification.
Clarification on our 509 on-call employees. So everybody likes it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. And
Okay.
we'll get that inserted into the handbook.
Not sure how much this matters, but I missed who made a motion for the agenda and who seconded it. If I was messing with that.
She did, and I second.
Thank you, Diane.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it for me.
Anybody have anything for it? Mark, Water Department.
So mine's a little wordy, I guess. Kind of what I was going for was, as far as our line replacements and leaks, have kind of a explanation of why we did the ones that we did as we've done them. So if the state ever asks why we didn't replace one further or why we chose to replace one, at least I have explained it in detail as far as I can explain it. So some of that was just for your knowledge and some is just so we have some kind of documentation of why we are replacing lines. Mainly because of leaks, because it's kind of pointless to fix some of these leaks to dig them up months later, 5 feet from the same leak, so like the one on High Street just snowballed, the street was destroyed. There's a sinkhole there, just the whole thing. So we just decided we're gonna do the whole half line, and it took us all day, but I guess that just made sense to do it, rather than just fix it, patch it, and wait till the next one. Outside of that, we got our tower back online. We are still waiting for power. We contacted NIPSCO, and they got a guy that's setting it up to reconnect us. That'll allow us to see the tower level, but as long as our sensors are working on our other tower, it will tell us the same thing. So it's almost a redundancy. So we know it's full when this one's full. If this one's empty, we know that one's empty. It's kind of straightforward like that. We just won't know the actual level of it until they get us power. So
Is there a date?
no. We got a hold of a guy that, didn't know who to call next, but he would figure it out. So we'll wait and see. If he doesn't find anything, I'll start bugging him again. Figured worst case scenario, we can just call him and say that our power's out and we'll give him. But yeah,
Wouldn't count.
like I said, it's just important as far as how it works with our SCADA system. It's not necessary to use the tower. So we're able to use the tower now, just back to old school ways of knowing how full it is. So
I like the lettering on the tower.
big G's.
Yeah, big G's.
So we're going for.
We almost needed it on 3 sides.
Right, I know. I didn't realize that it was spec to be on there twice. So I was thinking
Oh,
right in the middle, like we had it. And once the guy got there to do it, he said, no, it's supposed to be on here twice where you want them. All right, well, let me think
Whoops.
about it. Yeah, so I called Mark just to kind of confirm too, like, does that sound good? So. So you can.
I
see
drove
coming in
down
from the
100
south.
so I could see if it was on the other side. You can't see it. from the
Can you
other side.
see it from 100 right now?
No,
Like
the tower, yes.
Okay,
If you get in the right spot, you can see the tower. But mainly, the name on a tower isn't just for the people driving by, it's for airplanes and stuff to know where they're at. So
this
if
hand,
they're coming from the east going west, they have to fly by us and then turn around and come back.
they're gonna
where
have to
they're
look at that one up there while they're back.
Well, I don't know if they can see that far. Just saying, maybe someday we'll have a couple extra dollars. And we can
Yeah,
get
it
that
would be
painted on
nice
that
knowing-
third side, yeah.
Knowing it was gonna be that way,
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to put them perfectly spaced, one on one side, one on the other side, just because nobody would see it as good. So you can see it coming from the south.
Yeah.
And you can see it from town, like on Poplar Street, but yeah, like you said, it
Just,
could use one more to make it equal.
but other than that, looks good. Nice, beautiful letters on.
They look brand new,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's nice.
looks
It was
really good.
pretty rusty looking for the last 10
Oh my
years, so
God, I hope so.
at least. All right, and then the last item is Karen's well. Talked with Bill a little bit earlier today. So where did you guys end up on what you're thinking? Or
Where we kind of ended up on that is we all feel that if there's an existing well and they want to repair it, there's no problem. It can be repaired. We're exploring opportunities and suggestions as how to fix the billing ordinance so that people don't want a well. I think that what we have is more of a problem. I understand we have one person who wants to make absolutely sure they can water their lawn without the chemicals we put in. They can fix their well, that takes care of that. As far as the rest of the town not using the service, we've kind of isolated why that is. And why that is because of our billing, we've shifted it to dates that it starts and dates that it stops. And when we do that, the system automatically bills a minimum balance to that bill. So we're working. I've talked to Lori. We haven't got it worked out yet, but we're working to try to redo the billing mechanism, either only bill starting in maybe May instead of February, and stop billing in September. We're trying to figure out a way around that minimum. So we'll get that figured out and hopefully get it to you by the next meeting. But we've been working on that.
I got some other ideas after we discuss that bill, so I'll talk to
Okay.
Corey about it. I get a chance.
Anything else? Anybody have anything for Mark? Oh, I have one last thing here. We've got a water bill here. The person's moved out and keeps coming back. Not at this address, not at any address we've tried. The parents of this person won't take the bill. It's for $159.60. I think we should just get rid of it, get it off the books. And
Was it a homeowner or a tenant?
no, it was a homeowner,
Oh,
but he's moved out and who knows?
It's all water. We
It's all
can't put
water.
a lien on it.
Yeah,
We've been told he's more or less homeless. We don't know where to send the bill to. We would put it through the tax collection thing, but if he's in that situation, that's not gonna, if he doesn't have an address, you can't file taxes.
I make a motion, we wipe out the bill.
second.
got a motion second to clear this bill for $159.60. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Lynn. Is there anything else for Mark? Thank you, Mark. Have a good day. Wastewater. Sue, you have anything other than your report there? You got any
I do not.
good news for us?
No.
Did you get your pumps in?
No, they actually pushed those back till the end of June. They're waiting on parts. So,
Waiting on parts for our new pumps? That's kind of scary.
yeah, well,
Yeah, well, all right. Anybody have anything? Everybody read her report. Anybody have anything? Hearing nothing. Okay, thanks, Sue. Thanks for coming in tonight. Street Department.
Good evening.
Everybody have a chance to read John's Street Department thing? I don't,
It was like reading a book.
it is, man. They're busy, 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 busy,
Yeah,
busy, busy.
very busy.
Not only for their department, for everybody else's department
Yeah.
too. You,
Banners look nice. Downtown banners,
oh yeah, everything looks really good. The streets all look good.
looks really patriotic.
Yeah, it does. Looks nice. They done a good job.
John, is
Good
your
choice.
new guy still doing real good?
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. He's learning a vac truck quite a bit.
Okay.
So
Anybody else have anything? All right, John, just let them know how much we appreciate all their work, that everything's going, looking really good, so. And
Will
that's
do.
for all departments. I mean, it's Sue, your department, Mike, or Mark, your department, everybody's doing a really good job. It makes,
Mark?
if you were out there doing something, then yes, I would say, but it's all these,
Too many sprays.
it's
for
all
me.
these other guys here, park department. So yes, everybody's doing a wonderful job. Makes
That's
our
it.
job easier when we don't have to answer.
I've had to personally pull
calls.
weeds, and with him, he sprays for me, so I have to give him a plug and say thank you.
There you go. Thank you too. All right. Cemetery. Everybody have a chance to read that? I don't,
They are busy too.
they are. And especially those 3 PM ones that funerals at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It makes for a long day, so. But it looks nice out there. I can't say enough. If you drive around other cemeteries, you'll see how nice ours is compared to a lot of them. So they do an excellent job out there. Wonderful. Anybody have anything for the cemetery? There again, thanks for all their work out there. That's one of the departments. Parks Department.
The second Saturday of June is June 14th, and we do have a band lined up for that one. It is, lady that worked for the town, her band, so we want to go and support her. We should. Showdown, yes, Natalie Catman's band.
What is the name of it?
Showdown is the name of it.
Showdown.
Yeah. So, music 6 to 8, you guys should all go. Park looks great.
Yeah,
It does, yeah, they'll put in some mulch and everything in there, just looks so good.
yes, it really made it, really spruced it up quite a bit when they did that.
Yeah,
Looked
and I
real
saw
nice.
people, the water was, going this afternoon when I drove by, so
Brrr.
a little cold, but people using that
Kids
splash pad
don't
already.
care.
I know. That's it for the park.
Police department didn't have anything. They're in training. They're doing house searches and stuff like that. They've got a training spot. Mark, what have you got for us that we haven't talked about?
Just a couple things. One, just a little update, like I said, I'm working with Bill and Andy on Ottenwiller. I think we're relatively close to getting that, put together and finished. I think there's basically 2 items that need to be addressed at the plant yet from Mark, and then we should be fairly close on that. I guess another one in some of what we were doing here, so that everyone's clear. I did sit through an Ames webinar here last Thursday or whatever, and Ames alleges that they spoke to NDOT and that the second call of this year for the community crossings will happen. They say it's going to be delayed a little bit because of the new forms, but it becomes an 80-20. And I just want everybody to understand that although we were awarded the 1.5, we got really good bids on these first round of projects, and based off that, they'll still only cover 75%. So with that said, we're leaving a little over $637,000 out there on the table that's still there. So I think it would behoove us, so we're ready, if you guys are okay with that, to work with DLZ. We had, I know John and the guys had some other roads that we pulled because we were in fear that it'd be too many and we come in over budget. But I think we should take a swing at that, and try and tack into that. And we can still turn around, in the first call for the following year and try to do, probably a bigger project that's got some infrastructure and stuff in it and hit for the 1.5. But, I don't see any issue, I mean, that's 600. If we can get this type of bids again, we can mill and resurface several additional roads with that money. So I think it makes sense to take another swing at it, because the limiting factor is you can't be awarded more than $1.5 million that you actually use in their, what they call, it's calendar year, because it's not their year, but it's the actual physical calendar year. So if you don't have any problems with that, I think we should work with them and work up some more stuff so that it's ready. Because my gut is it will be delayed, and when they pop it out there, it's gonna be really tight, and I'd much rather not have to try to have Mike and their guys do it on fire where we got a week to get there or something.
So what streets are we milling and filling this year? Alex, this bid.
You're doing South Street from Poplar to Hall Patch. You're doing Finn from Poplar to Hall Patch. Let's see, we're doing Steuben from High to Town Line. You're doing Cherry between Spring and Michigan. We were right down in there by Mott, so we're picking up that little block of Mott, I think. My seven Belgium, maybe it's, hang on.
Orchard Hill.
Hang on.
Orchard Hill.
Orchard Hill, yeah, we're doing, there we go. Look at the paper that's in front of me, that he wrote all these things, doing Orchard Hill. And that's basically Town Line to Hall Patch, South Street, like I said, Poplar to Hall Patch, Finn Street, Poplar to Hall Patch, Mott Street. It kind of runs between Bell and South, Steuben Street, and we're starting that at High, and it runs to Town Line, Lakeland Drive. That starts basically at Michigan Street and runs back into a dead end, basically into the backside of the fairgrounds. Cherry Street runs, it gets to the elementary school, and that runs basically Spring, just a little beyond Michigan. And then we're doing South Town Line, so we're doing from 20 on Town Line to Orchard Hill. And hopefully on that one, I know John has talked with Aaron in the county and stuff. They've done some of that. They're hopeful that they'll take off where we left off, and we'll get that redone out to at least 100 or so.
That'd be sweet.
I'd like to see us check into nursery and put sidewalks in out to school.
I don't know if we can do it for 637,000. We could probably mill and fill it, but.
Yeah.
But sidewalks and stuff, that would be. And we'd have to work with the county because that bridge belongs to them. The culvert there.
Yeah, and I
And that'd
think,
have to be widened a little bit if we're gonna do that.
Right.
and I think
We can go after
milling
a
it.
federal one for that.
I don't disagree. I mean, that one's bad, and I think milling and resurfacing make sense, because I think if you're genuinely going to do that, and I know when Holly was still, and we looked at that, we do have that classified as a major interceptor, and I think the way to do that, especially if you wanted to go into the county and put all that together, would be to do something similar that we did with Hall Patch and do the LPA. The caveat in those LPAs is they're 5 to 7 years from award to physically do anything. So if we were to mill and resurface it now, I think it would provide you the window to then, if you wanted, if you want to go into that, again, it's procedure, but we could start working that up. Normally, those LPA calls will come out at least once a year normally, and, we could look at plugging that in, again like that, but then those are 80/20, but the nice thing about it is the only cap you have on the LPA is the amount of funds that they're actually appropriating. And it would also cover, you can also cover a lot, the water line upgrades and sewer line upgrades that you can't with community crossing. And it's got mechanisms in, because I think to some extent, we may have some issue where you're gonna have to acquire some right of way, if you're gonna do sidewalks, for sure. Just based off our facilities, they'd almost have to be primarily on, the north side of the road, and I think we may find that we have some limits there on what we have in right of way at this point to be able to do that. Because I think on top of everything else, just based on its traffic flow, the buses and what we're bringing in there and everything else, I mean, if you're going to do all that, probably widening that road a bit would be a good idea as well.
Well, if we could bring it on around to Old 9, right out to 9, and fill in that spot through there that I get chewed on continually.
Yeah, I mean,
About how rough that is through there. So if we could come all the way down through there and come around that corner and go on out to 9 off of Old 9, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, there's a part of that that's actually NDOT, but we're asking, I mean, I don't see NDOT
Can't imagine.
barking at us and improving their roadway with our funds.
Yeah, I
They're
can't
probably
either,
be okay
so.
with that.
Can you do that?
Wow.
Work on someone else's road with our money.
Well, I'm not sure. We'd have to look back in the records and see whether that was deeded over to the town when they closed that and put the bypass in. Because that used to run right straight down in front of Curtis's, that road, and they jogged that out to do that. And some of that they deeded over to the town. So you'd have to find out. Bill, I don't know. Do you remember how that went?
No, I don't really remember how much of it they got and who all it went to. I can look back through the file and see if I can find anything on it.
I know there's still markers there up in the Knights veterinary thing there. It's a line marker, but I don't know. A lot of that, when they do stuff like that, they just deed that over to the town because we're still plowing it. Are we allowed to plow other people's roads? And we've been maintaining that and taking care of it since what, 1960?
I can get in with Lori tomorrow and she and I can figure out if we own it or not.
When they did that. Yeah. So,
My gut
Now,
tells
you
me we do, but I can take a look.
because it'd be nice if we could come on around or work in unison with the state. Like you said, I don't think they're gonna frown on us to improve that because, man, I get yelled about that all the time.
Well, and
Literally.
it could easily be it's a no man's land and that's why nobody's working on it. So we can figure it out.
And that's possible. And if it's a no man's land, we'll take it over and we'll take care of what we're taking care of.
I can do a right of way document once I figure it out.
Sounds like a winner. Okay. Anything else that you had that you wanted to see paved? We're done.
I mean, part of it is trying to make sure that we don't pave something that needs infrastructure to be done or marching. And I mean, another one that we had on there was industrial here. It could use redone. And, and another one I know that we've talked about as well is this section of, town line. I mean, it's not brand new, but in the scope of how old some of our utilities are, it is one of the newer. It could definitely use redone as well. So I mean, I think we can come up with enough road surface to cover that fairly
Okay.
easily. And then I think we gotta then we gotta step back and look at some of this a little differently, if we're gonna do more of a complete road and factor in some of those areas that we know Mark and Sue both have stuff that needs to be upgraded in, and then figure out if we can do that.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to look at Spring Street one of these days. That's,
Yeah,
there's just no way around that one. We're living on borrowed times. All right, anything else? How does everybody feel about wheel tax? Did you read all of that in there? That's,
Can I say something real quick?
sure.
Mark said that, and I concur that they did say that, but I thought on the meeting the girls and I sat in, they said that only towns with a population of 5,000 or more can do that. So it's something we
Could
really.
be, because I don't recall the one I watched them saying.
And I
anything
think,
about
I think
population.
that's where we're at. I think you have to have a minimum population.
Yeah, and I think they said 5,000.
Oh, yeah. So they didn't say that in the meeting that I sat in. They just said that this was an idea how to bring in money because of the state's new tax laws. And that that this would be a way to do it. So, but they didn't say anything about any population that I can recall, so. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that then, so, because
And yeah, I think,
taxation twice for the same thing, I'm bad enough, we do it for other stuff, we have to stand by on that.
yeah. Like I said, other than that, we are, and working with Bill, we're trying to work through a couple little hiccups, and some building stuff on the cemetery building that I think will get resolved. And then the out of the blue one that I got here a week ago is, got an email and an invoice from NDOT regarding the 2016 US 20 project. Basically stating that, we had never paid and that we owed them just under $50,000, which was our 10% participation in the project. After I dug through a bunch of files, we dug up stuff here, that is the correct number, that it was supposed to be. I can't find anywhere where we have paid that. However, we did hire, the engineering firm that the state was using at that time for the project. And part of the premise of that, and I have emails that I sent to this Donda at the state so that they can look through it, stating that if we use their services for the engineering design, that the amount we paid them would be credited towards the 49. So my question that I posed to her in the state is that correct? The contract we signed was not to exceed 30,000. We actually paid him just a little over 23,000. So it's not going to completely eliminate, that bill. But I do think it gives us some direction for myself or Bill, based off what their response is. I mean, if we were told one thing and that's not correct, then we'll address that, with that firm, or if the credit's there, then we should, and we'll figure out how it works, with the state. She was a little confused as to whether or not we might have to pay, provide proof that we paid them and also pay the 49, and then at some point the state would recredit us. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out, but in some fashion, somewhere between 25 and 50,000, they're going to expect to get from us, in the semi-near future, I would guess.
Oh, we got our fingers crossed on that one then. So,
Yeah, and I mean,
see what they come
is,
back with, so.
and like I said, and this goes way back, right? Because when I look at it, I mean, you and Edna were the only ones that were here, but it was Edna in the first round, and you were just on the board. I think Juan was actually the board president. And what this goes back to is we'd even approached the state. It was a 4-inch water main that was replaced from Town Line to Vine Street, and the state was willing to put it in as a 6-inch water main because they could buy the 6-inch cheaper than they could do the 4-inch. So they'd upgrade to 6. We had we had talked to them about upgrading to 10, but then they came back with an astronomical number that it was gonna cost us. And
I remember that.
we stuck with 6. But,
Way too small.
yeah, how they found something that's practically 10 years old is beyond me, and why they, I mean, I can't find anything that they ever built, Lori or I, on that. I mean, we can find some documentation where it's referenced, you know, that was our amount to participate, but we never were invoiced until last week. So just so everybody's up to speed on that, it's probably coming in some fashion.
All right, anything else?
No, I think that's all the joy I can share with you at this point.
You are just, they're full of it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything that remark? Jeremy, fire department, you guys should have had a thing here from, but that was that the last one?
April.
Oh, that's April, so nothing. I haven't heard anything. Bill, you have anything for us tonight?
I think we've hit the majority of my things as we went item by item. Mark and I are also working on the cemetery and on the last bills for the water plant after they get those couple of things done. So we're kind of closing those things out.
One thing I did notice is that, and I should have brought this up before in Mark's thing, is that they're wanting to have a plan for the water or for the wastewater and water departments. And so how are we doing on that? Have we even thought about any of that yet, or?
I think they're calling it an asset management,
Yeah,
and I would
asset
say
management.
some of what Mark's done, to some extent with his lead inventory is a step in the right direction, if not something that can be there. Like I said, there's talk about it, and I think it's coming in both directions. But I really haven't seen anything that at this point yet that specifically says what they're going to want to see. I'm going to assume it will mirror somewhat like the street assets do, where we probably will have to they'll break. I'm assuming break it down geographic. You know, from I have like Mark. He's got a 6-inch water line that runs on High Street between Michigan and Main Street or whatever it is, and then they'll rate the condition of that. And I don't know whether they'll do some type of certification. Well, like I know you and I went and they talked about that, and they did move quicker than I thought. There is one coming up. I think it's next month in Fort Wayne, and I have John and all of his employees registered to go to Fort Wayne, and they will all be redoing and be PACER certified, and all of them will have the certification number. So
they haven't sent out any parameters or anything for wastewater or for
not that I have seen.
Probably once they do that, we should be pretty good with our lines and our sewers and how big they are and where they run on our streets and stuff. So
we have a lot of that in that silver.
Yeah, so we should be pretty good with that.
Again, I don't fully know what exactly they're going to want, but it does appear that is a piece of that. They're going to require both water and wastewater to have asset management in place. And then somewhat like your streets, I think they're going to want to know, see some type of a plan as to, how you're going to fix and or upgrade, your utilities. I think we're in that position as many towns were, for many years. The way water and sewer worked is you fixed it when it failed. And what they're saying is that's not a viable way. And they're trying to kind of with the same with the streets is, get in front of that and make sure that infrastructure remains viable.
Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, Bill. Is there anything else?
No, I think that pretty well covered it.
Does anybody have anything for Bill?
Bill, where are we at on the tattoo place?
That's a good question. I was wondering the same myself, and Dustin was at a bowling tournament for the last week, and I haven't been able to talk to him today because he was swamped by all of his clients saying, "Where have you been?" And he's probably saying at a bowling tournament. But hopefully by next meeting, I'll know more about what's going on there.
Okay,
I know we're all set to go. I believe all the loose ends were worked out, and we're just waiting on Dan to commit to coming in and taking the building down.
I just can't wait till it looks better.
Yeah.
But you think you can't wait? I can't either. I parked back there.
I bet.
Another tooth. That's a lot of teeth missing. Anybody else have anything for Bill? Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
And a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all those that stopped in.
Thank you all.
Oh, we didn't have open discussion.
Oh, we didn't have open discussion. We were talking so much, we didn't have that. All right, so stand by on adjourning. Yeah, what have you got?
So, about the well that I want to put in.
Okay, let's talk about it because you've already heard what we said.
Okay, we never had an ordinance. I just gave you the courtesy to let you know that I was gonna put a well in. As y'all know on this board, that nobody has ever approached you people about putting a well in that's in the town, have they?
Well,
I don't know.
maybe
have
this
they?
board here, but I'm sure other boards in the past, we can't speak for everybody that.
I can tell you,
built
I've been at almost every board meeting since 1982, and I've never heard the request before. So there you go.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is that people aren't gonna spend 10 grand on putting a well in. I am, but your average person in town will not. So why are you fighting me on this? Why?
I think what we said, what I heard us say was that we aren't fighting you. We're just saying that at this point the town prohibits a well, but you've already got one.
Right.
So take care of your well.
Okay, Bill, I want to put a different well in a different location so I could house everything in the garage. I
Well,
don't want. What?
I roughed one ordinance out where I said you had to have at least an acre as I was looking at the state. And the reason for not having wells has nothing to do with your use. The reason for not having wells is a health and safety issue. Once water's available, we don't have to worry about, I tell the story all the time. My great-great-grandfather was the pastor in a little town in Arkansas that doesn't exist anymore because during the period of yellow fever, their water supply got contaminated with the yellow fever disease, and people who drank the water died. So they just moved the whole town 3 miles down the road and then moved the buildings that they could and repopulated the town. And that's when people really started getting interested way back in the old days before you and I were even a sparkle at avoiding those kind of problems with wells. If we permit wells all over town where there's not one now, we have to create a way to keep people who aren't as honest as you from cheating and using that for their drinking water and avoiding using water that's potable, that's safe. To be honest, I could care less if you put in a well for your posies. I just don't want to create a scenario where other people can put in a well to avoid that cost per month and end up becoming sick. And so we would have to monitor them every day. But from what I heard, if you got a well driller that says that your well can't be repaired economically and the cheapest solution is to put in a new one, as far as I'm concerned, the board should probably approve it because you already have a well there.
Okay.
So get something from your well driller or you're a repairman that says the most economical way is to replace it with a new well, bring it into Mark. Mark and I will look at it and we'll get right back with you.
Okay, I'll have that done then.
I think we got an answer if the board doesn't mind it.
I'm fine with it.
I just don't want to create a situation where we have wells going in and poor Mark takes all the other jobs that he has and he gets to track all over town and figure out if a person's using their well water.
I understand that. However, as you know, I'm just gonna use it for irrigation.
And we trust you. It's not you that created the problem. It's the fact that we don't trust other people because every day we have people doing things like running hoses from the next door neighbor so they don't have to pay for water. So that's the
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing that
believe-
we got to watch.
Okay, so then I'll have him, contact Mark, both
Yeah,
Marks.
well, I contact Mark Eagleson, but with the board's approval, if the board doesn't mind, I think that's a good answer for you is just have them say your well is more economically replaced than repaired.
Okay, perfect.
Ray, you've given me that thoughtful look. What are you thinking?
What? So,
I saw when Ray holds his finger on the bottom of his chin, he's thinking.
I see problems, Bill. I seen problems at the last meeting. I see problems here. It has nothing to do with her. It's the future that I'm looking at. And,
I can
see
go ahead
problems
and put flesh on that well ordinance, which takes care of it. You know, the only reason we stopped is the reason, with the exception of one case, the reason that we have the potential for wells has to do with the way the billing system works. It has nothing to do with the water that's being applied to the plants.
Right.
We have one person though that wants to use her well that she has now. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, we can make an exception a lot easier than we can make a rule.
I'm in favor of an exception for the fact that she is a grandfathered
Yeah.
in, and if we have some paperwork to show.
No, it's not grandfathered in. When you close something out, you lose your grandfather clause.
She hasn't
Because
closed that
this
well
is
out.
a new one. She's closing out that well and moving it to a new location. That is not grandfathered in. You're making an exception that in the future could come back to haunt us. Because what if you get someone that wants to put a well in that they can drill themselves? There's kits out there all over the place. So what you're doing is you're making it so that we have to make that exception for everybody then. And that is like, let's get rid of some of Mark's men because we don't need them because we're losing revenue. And the purpose of town water is to generate revenue for our water department that has guaranteed purified water, potable water.
She's remaining a water user, like she's still a resident and she's still a customer of our water department. And if we want to put it in there where we've made an exception that it comes from a professional and not an at-home service or a personal service.
I'll second Carol's motion.
If we can cover ourselves with some legalese on this exception.
Can't cover yourself with legalese because once you make an exception, you are tied to that exception. No matter what kind of legalese you do, it isn't any different than allowing people to not hook onto our sewer system when it's close and item says that they have to hook onto it. Now you've set an exception. And if people on down the road want to hook into our systems or use their own septic systems, we have set an exception that we allow people to do that when our system is right there.
We did an exception last week for a septic.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna have exceptions. And with this particular situation, we have an existing well. All we're doing is making it function better. She's not using it for potable water. We'll make sure that we have an agreement for her to sign that she will not discontinue her potable water, nor will she permit the two waters to be at any point in time cross-contaminated, because that's another problem we've got. If I create an ordinance so that anybody can put in a well, I now have to worry about cross-contamination. And so I'm going to have to do an annual test and create an ordinance for an annual test for cross-contamination between potable water and non-potable water. And it's a nightmare for Mark. Mark's going to need another man just to handle the work we're going to create for him, where we've got only one person asking for the exception.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of people in the town of LaGrange that wants to put a well in. I can't say zip, but I don't think.
I think we would have them if we aren't really, really, really clear on the cross-contamination situation. And I hope you're really clear, because now you turn on your water faucet to control your spigot for your outdoor plumbing. You're going to have a whole different setup to do that outdoor plumbing. We can't take any chance of cross-contamination between your well and our system, okay?
That's right, and that's why I hired a professional.
Good. And I understand that, but I just wanted to make sure that we had that out there on the record for everyone, that we're not talking about a situation where you're just going to tie into a spigot on the outside of your house and it has two lines going to it. One line is your well water and the other one is potable water. No, you're going to have a separate system set up for irrigation. It's going to be provided by your well, and there's going to be no cross-contamination between the two situations. I understand what you're doing.
Okay, and then if you need to have Mark come out to verify it, or anybody on the board.
That will be one of the things we have to do, is to verify there's no opportunity for cross-contamination. Absolutely. You're right. I mean, she can do this tomorrow without coming in and asking us, but she's been kind enough to come in and explain what she wants to do. And I really and truly think we can work with her as an exception rather than making a rule.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
When you get your letter, bring it in and I'll have something prepared for the next board meeting.
Okay. So then he can't start until you tell us, is that?
When you talk with Mark, we'll work that out.
Okay. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good thing you brought that